Amara, get out of my room before you see something you'll regret, Kenneth growled, his voice deep and cold. But it was too late. I had already seen it. The door was wide open, and my heart pounded like a drum as I stared at the scene in front of me. Kenneth, my 60-year-old muscular husband, lying on the bed with a woman half his age, their bodies tangled in the very sheets we shared just hours ago. I dropped the tray of breakfast I had prepared. The plates shattered on the marble floor, sending echoes through the mansion. Kenneth, my voice cracked. Who is she? The young woman smirked, wrapping herself in the silk sheet like she owned the place. You must be the new wife, she said with a cruel laugh. Kenneth sat up, unfazed. His broad shoulders flexed as he grabbed his robe, looking at me like I was the intruder. Go downstairs, Amara. This isn't what you think. I stepped forward, trembling with rage. Isn't what I think. You're cheating on me in our bedroom. 5 days, Kenneth. We've been married for 5 days. He stood, towering over me, his face dark with anger. Lower your voice. You're embarrassing yourself. No, you're embarrassing me. I screamed, tears spilling down my face. He leaned in close, his voice a whisper filled with menace. You knew what this marriage was. You wanted the life I offered, the money, the comfort. Don't play innocent. You're here to be my wife in public, and keep quiet in private. The woman on the bed laughed softly. Sweetheart, don't waste your energy. You're not the first, and you won't be the last. My blood boiled. Without thinking, I grabbed the vase on the dresser and hurled it at the wall. It shattered, pieces flying everywhere. I'm not your fool, Kenneth. He narrowed his eyes. Careful, Amara. You don't know who you're dealing with. At that moment, I realized something. This wasn't just infidelity. There was something darker behind his arrogance. Something he was hiding. I stormed out of the room, my heart breaking, my body trembling. Downstairs, I caught sight of 2 men in black suits by the gate, watching me like hawks. They didn't move, didn't blink. They were his men, guards or something worse. I walked past them, clutching my chest, my mind spinning. This wasn't just a marriage gone wrong. I had walked into a trap, and I needed to find a way out before it swallowed me whole. As the sun set behind the mansion, I stood by the fountain, whispering to myself, You think you control me, Kenneth? You have no idea who you married. Because whatever secret he was hiding, I was going to uncover it, even if it killed me. You think catching him cheating was bad? Wait until you hear the secret I uncovered about Kenneth's double life. The night after I caught Kenneth with that woman, I didn't sleep. I sat on the edge of the bed in the guest room, staring into the darkness, my mind racing with questions. Why was he so calm about being caught? Why did he warn me instead of apologizing? And why were those men always stationed at the gate like prison guards? At sunrise, I made myself a cup of tea, my hands trembling as I tried to hold the cup steady. Saad, my childhood friend who worked as a nurse in the city, called me. Amara, you sound broken. What's going on? She asked softly. I think I made the biggest mistake of my life, I whispered. Kenneth isn't who I thought he was. He's cheating on me, Saad, and there's something he's hiding. I can feel it. She sighed. You rushed into this marriage. I warned you about rich men like him. I know. I set my throat tight. But I can't just leave. He has me surrounded with guards. It feels like I'm being watched 24/7. Amara, you need to be careful, she warned. Men like him play dirty. That was when it hit me. If I was going to survive this, I needed to stop being the naive girl he thought I was. I needed to play smarter than him. That evening, Kenneth came home earlier than usual. He walked into the living room where I was pretending to read, his expensive cologne filling the air. Still upset, he asked casually, as if the events of yesterday never happened. I didn't look up. You didn't even apologize. He chuckled. Apologize for what? For being a man. For living my life. Grow up, Amara. I glared at him. You humiliated me. He leaned closer, his voice low and dangerous. Listen to me carefully. You don't ask questions about my life, and you don't go where you're not supposed to go. Do you understand? My heart raced, but I kept my voice steady. What are you hiding, Kenneth? His eyes flashed with something cold, something deadly. Drop it, Amara. For your own good. He turned and walked upstairs, leaving me with a chill that sank deep into my bones. The next day, I waited until he left for the gym. I wandered through the house, searching for anything that might reveal his secret. Most of the rooms were spotless, almost too clean. But when I reached his private office, I noticed something a locked drawer in his desk. I checked the handles. No luck. Then I remembered the key he always kept on a chain in his closet. Sneaking into his room, I found the chain and unlocked the drawer. Inside, I discovered stacks of cash, several passports with different names, and a small black notebook. My hands shook as I opened it. The pages were filled with names, dates, and transactions, large amounts of money being moved in and out of offshore accounts. My stomach dropped. Was Kenneth involved in something illegal? Before I could process it, I heard the sound of a car pulling into the driveway. My heart leapt. He was back. I shoved everything back into the drawer, locked it, and rushed out just as the front door opened. Kenneth walked in, sweat glistening on his muscular arms, his eyes scanning me like a predator. "What were you doing upstairs?" he asked. "Nothing," I said quickly, forcing a smile. "Just cleaning." He stared at me for a long moment, then smirked. "Good girl." But I knew he didn't believe me. That night, as I lay in bed, my phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. It read, "You're in danger. Leave the house now. Don't trust him." My breath caught. I jumped up, peering through the curtains, but saw nothing but the shadows of the guards outside. Who sent the message? How did they know what was happening? Before I could reply, another message came through. "If you stay, you'll find out his secret the hard way." I sat on the edge of the bed, my heart pounding, torn between fear and curiosity. Was Kenneth's secret even worse than I thought? The next morning, Kenneth acted like everything was normal. He kissed my cheek, told me he was heading to a business meeting, and left in his sleek black car. The moment he was gone, I packed a small bag and called Saad. "Meet me at the coffee shop on Allen Avenue. I need to talk to you." When I arrived, I handed her the photos I had secretly taken of the notebook. She flipped through them, her eyes widening. "Amara, this is serious. These aren't normal transactions. These are tied to illegal deals, money laundering, maybe even worse." My heart raced. I knew it. Kenneth is hiding something big. But why marry me? Saad frowned. "Maybe you were part of his plan." Before I could answer, my phone buzzed again. Another anonymous message. "You're being followed. Don't go home." I turned to the window and froze. The same black SUV that always sat by the mansion was now parked across the street from the cafe. "Amara, we need to leave. Now," Saad urged, grabbing my arm. We rushed out the back door, my pulse thundering in my ears. As we slipped in her car, I caught a glimpse of a man in a suit watching us, speaking into an earpiece. This wasn't just about cheating anymore. Kenneth's secret was something that could cost me my life. You think the secret is just about money? Wait until you hear what I uncovered next about Kenneth's double life. The next chapter will reveal the shocking truth I discovered and the danger that came with it. Stay tuned for the next chapter, because things are about to turn deadly. Like, comment, and subscribe because you won't believe what happens next. The car ride with Saad was silent, the tension so thick it could choke us. I clutched my small bag tightly, glancing nervously through the back window to see if the black SUV was following. Sure enough, two headlights glowed steadily behind us, keeping their distance, but never letting go. "Don't look back," Saad muttered, speeding through the traffic in Lagos. "We'll lose them." My chest rose and fell with shallow breaths. "Saad, what if Kenneth knows I took the photos? What if?" She cut me off. "Then we move faster than him. You said he's hiding something big. If we find proof, we can go to the police." I swallowed hard. "But what if the police are in on it?" She didn't answer. That silence said enough. We reached a small motel on the outskirts of the city, a place Kenneth's men would never think to look. Saad paid cash for the room. Inside, I sat on the edge of the bed while she examined the photos again. "These names and numbers, they're not random. Kenneth is connected to some very dangerous people," she said, flipping to the page with the largest transactions. "Who are they?" I asked. Before she could answer, my phone buzzed again. Another anonymous text. "He killed the last woman who tried to expose him. Be careful." My heart stopped. I stared at the message, my hands shaking. "Saad, someone's warning me. Someone who knows Kenneth." Saad looked up sharply. "Then this is bigger than we thought. We need to find out what else he's hiding. Where does he go when he's not home?" I thought back to the times Kenneth came home late, smelling of cologne and cigars. "There's a private club. He goes there every Thursday. He says it's business, but I've never been allowed inside." "Then that's our next stop," Saad said firmly. The following night, we parked across from the club, An exclusive building with tinted windows and luxury cars lined up outside. From the shadows, we watched Kenneth step out of his car, dressed in a black suit, shaking hands with two men who radiated power and danger. "Take a photo," Saad whispered. I snapped several pictures with my phone as Kenneth disappeared inside. "We need to get closer," I said, my voice trembling. "You're crazy," she hissed. But I'd already slipped out of the car. My heart pounded as I crept along the building, hiding behind a row of palm trees. Through a small window, I could see Kenneth at a table with the men, exchanging briefcases full of cash. Then one of the men opened the briefcase Kenneth handed him. Inside, stacks of US dollars and small packages wrapped in black plastic. My stomach turned. Drugs. Weapons. Something illegal. I lifted my phone to snap another picture, but my foot hit a loose bottle on the ground. It rolled loudly across the pavement. Kenneth's head snapped toward the window. His eyes met mine. I ran. Saad threw the car door open as I jumped in, yelling, "Drive." She slammed the gas, and the tires screeched as we sped off. Behind us, Kenneth and two men rushed outside, shouting, and their SUV roared to life, chasing us through the night streets. Bullets shattered the back window. Glass rained over us. I ducked, screaming as Saad swerved wildly. "They're shooting at us." "Hold on," she yelled, cutting through a narrow alley. The SUV tried to follow but crashed against a dumpster, giving us just enough time to escape. We didn't stop driving until we were miles away, our breaths ragged, our hands trembling. Back at the motel, I collapsed to the floor, shaking. Saad hugged me tightly. "You almost died tonight, Amara. This is too dangerous." "No," I said, my voice shaking but determined. "Now I know for sure. Kenneth isn't just cheating. He's running something criminal, and I'm going to take him down." Saad looked at me, tears in her eyes. "How?" "He's powerful, connected. If you go to the police, he'll crush you." I'll wipe my tears. "Then I'll destroy him from the inside. I'll make him think I'm still his perfect little wife, while I gather everything to end him." Later that night, while Saad slept, I sat by the window staring at the city lights. My phone buzzed again. This time, the message was different. "We can help you. Meet us tomorrow night at Freedom Bridge. Don't tell anyone. Don't bring your friend." I frowned, my heart pounding. Who were they? Could I trust this? Or was it a trap? I typed back, "Who are you?" The reply came instantly. "Someone who wants Kenneth gone as much as you do." The next evening, I told Saad I needed to pick up something from the pharmacy, then took a taxi to Freedom Bridge. The night was quiet, the water below glistening under the moonlight. A hooded figure stepped out from the shadows. "You're Amara." I froze. "Who are you?" The figure pulled down the hood, revealing a scarred woman with piercing eyes. "My name is Lola. I was Kenneth's first wife. I barely survived him." My mouth fell open. "You're alive?" She nodded grimly. "Barely, and I know what he's hiding. But if we're going to bring him down, you'll have to risk everything." The night air at Freedom Bridge was cold and still, but the story Lola told me sent chills far deeper than the wind ever could. "He's not just a cheater, Amara," she began, her voice low, almost trembling. "Kenneth is a criminal kingpin. He runs a trafficking ring, laundering money through fake companies, smuggling drugs and weapons, and bribing officials to cover it all up. Marrying women like us is part of his game. He uses our identities, our innocence, to hide his operations." I gripped the railing, my heart pounding. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because I was like you," Lola said, her eyes dark with pain. "I thought I could expose him. When he found out, he tried to kill me. Everyone thinks I'm dead because I staged my own death to escape. But now I want revenge, and you're my only chance to get it." My breath hitched. "You're asking me to risk my life." She stepped closer. "You already are. Kenneth doesn't forgive betrayal. If he suspects you know too much, you won't live to tell anyone." I swallow hard. "What do you want me to do?" She handed me a small USB drive. "This has evidence, videos, financial records, everything I collected before I disappeared. But it's not enough. You need to get the final ledger from his vault. It's the only proof that ties him directly to the crimes. Without it, he walks free." I took the drive, my hands trembling. "How do I get into the vault?" Lola's lips curled into a bitter smile. "You're his wife. He still trusts you enough to let you near him. Use that to your advantage. Play the part, gain his confidence, and when he least expects it, strike." My chest tightened. "And if I fail?" She looked me dead in the eyes. Then you'll end up like the others, buried where no one will ever find you. The next day, I returned to the mansion. Kenneth was waiting, standing by the staircase like a king, expecting his queen. You ran off last night, he said coldly. Care to explain? I forced a smile. I needed space. I was overwhelmed. But I realized you're right. I should focus on being your wife, not your judge. His eyes narrowed. You're not lying to me, are you, Amara? I stepped closer, touching his chest. No, I want to make this work. For a moment, he studied me, searching for cracks in my facade. Then he smiled faintly. Good girl. Inside, I was screaming, but on the surface, I played my role perfectly. Over the next week, I stayed close to Kenneth, pretending to be the perfect wife while secretly copying files from his office on Lola's USB. I memorized his routines, watched how he opened his vault, and took note of the code he used when he thought I wasn't looking. Every night, I sent the copied files to Lola through a secure app she installed on my phone. Each time, she replied with a single word, good. But things weren't as simple as they seemed. Kenneth's men were everywhere, watching me. The black SUV followed me to the grocery store, the gym, even when I visited Saad. My every move was under surveillance. And Kenneth's behavior grew more unpredictable. Sometimes he was sweet, showering me with gifts and affection. Other times, he was cold, accusing me of being distant, demanding to know where I had been. One night, as we sat by the pool, he looked at me with a strange expression. You're hiding something, Amara. I can feel it. My heart stopped, but I kept my voice calm. You're imagining things. He smirked, sipping his drink. I hope so, because if you ever betray me, I won't hesitate to bury you myself. The following evening, I made my move. Kenneth was at the club, and the guards were distracted. I crept into his office, entered the vault code I had memorized, and opened it. Inside were stacks of cash, gold bars, and the ledger Lola had mentioned. My hands trembled as I grabbed it, snapping photos of every page. But just as I was about to close the vault, a voice growled behind me. Looking for something, I froze. One of Kenneth's men stood in the doorway, his gun raised. I tried to play it cool. I was just cleaning. Save it, he said, stepping closer. Mr. Kenneth said to keep an eye on you. Looks like he was right. My heart raced. Please let me go. I won't say anything. He sneered. You won't say anything because you won't be breathing. Just as he cocked the gun, a loud crash echoed from the hall. He turned his head slightly, and in that split second, I grabbed a vase and smashed it over his head. He collapsed to the floor, unconscious. I grabbed the ledger and ran, my breath coming in ragged gasps. I hid the ledger in my bag and rushed out of the mansion, driving straight to the abandoned warehouse where Lola was waiting. When I handed her the ledger, she smiled. You did it. This is enough to bring him down. But before we could celebrate, headlights flared in the distance. The roar of engines filled the night. Black SUVs surrounded the warehouse, and Kenneth stepped out of the lead car, his face twisted with rage. You think Kenneth was dangerous before? Wait until you see what he does when he realizes I betrayed him. The night at the warehouse erupted into chaos. Black SUVs screeched to a halt, and armed men poured out like a swarm of shadows. Their weapons gleamed under the moonlight, aimed directly at us. My pulse roared in my ears. Lola grabbed my arm, yanking me behind a stack of crates. You led them here, she hissed. No, I didn't tell anyone. I cried, my hands shaking. Doesn't matter now, she said, pulling out a small handgun. We fight or we die. Kenneth stepped forward, towering and muscular even in the dim light, his tailored suit making him look more like a kingpin than a husband. His eyes locked on me, burning with fury. You betrayed me, Amara, he growled, his voice echoing. After everything I gave you, this is how you repay me? I stood, trembling but defiant. You gave me lies. You used me. You're a monster. He smirked. You think you can take me down with a notebook? You're in over your head, my dear. He raised his hand, signaling his men to advance. Gunfire erupted. The deafening sound filled the air as bullets tore through the crates. Lola fired back, hitting one of Kenneth's men. I crouched low, crawling across the floor, clutching the ledger to my chest. My heart pounded, so hard I thought it would burst. Kenneth's voice boomed over the gunfire. Bring her to me alive. Kill the other one. Lola grabbed my arm, shoving me toward the back door. Run, Amara. Get out while you can. No, I'm not leaving you, I screamed. She shoved me again. You have to. Take the ledger. Expose him. Tears blurred my vision as I stumbled toward the exit. Behind me, Lola kept firing, covering my escape. But then I heard her scream. I turned just in time to see Kenneth's men dragging her to the ground. Lola, I cried, but she yelled back, Go. Don't look back. I burst out the back door, sprinting into the night. Bullets whizzed past me as I dove behind a dumpster. My car was too far. If I ran for it, I'd be gunned down. Suddenly, headlights flared in the alley. It was Saad, her face pale with fear as she shouted, Get in. I scrambled into the car, and she slammed the accelerator, tires screeching as we sped away. The SUVs chased us, their engines roaring. Hold on, Saad yelled, swerving through the narrow streets. The pursuing cars crashed into walls as she zigzagged wildly, finally losing them in a dark underpass. We stopped, panting, hearts pounding. Where's Lola? She asked. My eyes filled with tears. They took her. They'll kill her. Saad grabbed my shoulders. Amara, listen to me. We have a ledger. We can use it. We have to go to the authorities now. I shook my head. No. Kenneth has the police in his pocket. If we go to them now, we're dead. So what's the plan? She asked. I wiped my tears, my voice hardening. We leak the evidence to the press. Let the world see what he really is. We hid in an abandoned apartment that night. I scanned the photos I had taken of the ledger and sent them anonymously to several journalists and international anti-crime agencies. Then I uploaded the videos Lola gave me to an encrypted cloud. Within hours, the news exploded. Business tycoon Kenneth Okoro under investigation for money laundering, trafficking allegations. Kenneth's empire began to crumble, but he didn't go down quietly. The next evening, the news reported that Kenneth had gone into hiding after the warrants were issued. But before I could breathe, my phone buzzed with a video call. I answered, and my heart nearly stopped. Kenneth's face filled the screen, his eyes burning with rage. Behind him, Lola sat tied to a chair, bruised and bloody. You think you've won, Amara? He sneered. You've made me desperate, and that makes me dangerous. Bring me the original ledger, or your little friend dies. No, I cried. Don't hurt her. You have 24 hours, he said coldly. Come alone. If I see the police, she's dead. The screen went black. Saad grabbed my arm. You're not going to him. It's a trap. I have to, I said, my voice trembling but firm. Lola risked her life to help me. I won't let her die because of me. Saad's eyes filled with tears. Then at least take something to protect yourself. I nodded, sliding a small pistol into my jacket pocket. This ends tomorrow. At dawn, I drove to the abandoned shipping yard Kenneth had chosen for the exchange. My hands gripped the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles turned white. The original ledger sat in the seat beside me. When I arrived, Kenneth was waiting, flanked by his men. Lola was tied to a chair in the center, her head hanging low. Bring me the ledger, he said, stepping forward. I walked slowly, the wind whipping my hair, my heart pounding. Let her go first. He smirked. You're not in a position to negotiate. But as he reached for the ledger, I pulled the pistol from my pocket and aimed it at his chest. His men raised their guns, but Kenneth held up his hand, laughing. You don't have the guts, Samara. My finger trembled on the trigger. The wind howled across the shipping yard, swirling dust and tension around us. My hand trembled as I aimed the pistol at Kenneth, my finger tight on the trigger. He smiled, calm, cold, confident. You think you're strong enough to pull that trigger, my dear? Kenneth said, stepping closer. You're not a killer. You're just a scared little girl playing a game far above her head. I'm not scared of you. I hissed, my voice shaking. Behind him, Lola stirred, raising her bruised face. Amara, don't give it to him. Don't let him win. She croaked, blood on her lips. Kenneth's smirk widened. One more step, and she dies. He motioned to one of his men, who pressed a gun to Lola's head. My heart raced. Every instinct screamed at me to shoot, but if I missed, Lola would die instantly. You have 10 seconds, Kenneth said, his voice like ice. Give me the ledger, or I'll blow her brains out right here. I slowly lowered the pistol, pretending to give in. Fine. Take it. Just let her go. Kenneth's men relaxed slightly, lowering their guns. I tossed the ledger halfway to him. He nodded to one of his men, who walked forward to retrieve it. But the moment the man bent down, I pulled a second gun from my ankle holster and fired. The guard dropped instantly. Chaos erupted. Gunfire roared as bullets flew in every direction. I dove behind a crate, returning fire as Kenneth's men scrambled. Lola screamed, struggling against the ropes. Kenneth grabbed the ledger and ducked behind a container, shouting orders to his men. Kill her. Leave no witnesses. I crawled closer to Lola, cutting through the ropes with a knife I had hidden. Run, I yelled. She stumbled to her feet, grabbing a fallen gun. No, I'm staying. This ends tonight. We fought side by side, taking down Kenneth's men one by one. The yard was a storm of noise, gunshots, shouts, the crack of metal against metal. Finally, there were only 3 of them left, Kenneth and 2 bodyguards. He stepped out from behind the container, aiming his gun at me. You just don't know when to die. Amara, he growled. I glared at him, my pistol aimed right back. You ruined my life. You killed other women. You used me. Tonight it ends. He laughed darkly. Even if you kill me, you'll never be free. My men will hunt you to the ends of the earth. I took a step forward. Then I'll make sure there's no one left to hunt me. Kenneth fired first. The bullet grazed my arm, burning pain ripping through me. I screamed, but fired back, hitting him in the shoulder. He fell to one knee, blood spreading across his suit. You think this stops me? He spat, clutching his wound. I walked closer, my hands shaking, but steady enough to aim at his chest. Yes, it stops with you. Before I could fire the final shot, one of his bodyguards tackled me from behind. My gun flew across the ground. The guard pinned me down, choking me as I struggled. Lola screamed and fired her weapon, hitting him in the chest. He collapsed on top of me, dead weight. I pushed him off, gasping for air. Kenneth was crawling toward his gun, but I got a mine first. Amara, don't, he started. The shot rang out, echoing through the night. Kenneth's body fell to the ground, lifeless. For a long moment, silence filled the yard. The only sound was my ragged breathing. Lola limped toward me, tears streaming down her face. It's over, she said softly. I stared at Kenneth's body, my hands trembling. It's really over. We gathered the ledger and left the yard just as police sirens wailed in the distance. I had sent the evidence to multiple journalists before coming here, ensuring Kenneth's crimes would be exposed regardless of what happened to me. By the time the authorities arrived, the truth had already spread worldwide. Kenneth Okoro's empire crumbled overnight. His men scattered like rats. A week later, Lola and I sat on a quiet beach far from the city. She had dyed her hair and planned to disappear again, but this time, she wasn't running from fear. She was choosing freedom. You saved me, she said, her voice soft. I shook my head. We saved each other. She squeezed my hand. What will you do now? I stared at the horizon. Start over. Live without fear. And make sure no one else becomes a victim of men like him. But just as peace began to settle, a message popped up on my phone. Unknown number. My heart skipped a beat as I opened it. You killed the king. Now the real game begins. A chill ran down my spine. Kenneth may have been dead, but his shadow still lingered. You think Kenneth's death was the end? The next chapter reveals the aftermath, the people who rise from his ashes, and the shocking twist I never saw coming. Stay tuned for the next chapter, because the storm isn't over. Like, comment, and subscribe, because this story is about to take another dark turn. The message burned in my mind. You killed the king. Now the real game begins. For days, I tried to convince myself it was a sick prank, maybe one of Kenneth's loyalists bluffing. But when the threats started piling up, I knew the nightmare wasn't over. On the second day after Kenneth's funeral, my car tires were slashed outside my apartment. On the third, a dead crow was left on my doorstep with a note pinned to its body. You're next. I packed my bags and moved to a new apartment in Lekki, but the feeling of being watched never left me. Saad came to visit, her eyes filled with worry. Amara, this isn't safe. You need to leave Lagos. Start fresh somewhere no one knows you. I shook my head. Running won't help. Kenneth may be dead, but whoever's behind this wants something. They're testing me. Testing you for what? I pulled out the last page of the ledger, the one Kenneth had torn before the fight. Lola had pieced it back together before she disappeared. On it were codes and names I didn't recognize, but one name stood out. The Syndicate. Saad frowned. What's that? I stared at the paper. The people Kenneth worked for, or maybe worked under. He wasn't the king. He was just a pawn. Later that night, I received another text. Meet us at the Blue Lagoon Hotel. Midnight. Come alone. Bring what belongs to us, or die. I knew what they wanted, the original ledger, but I had destroyed it after the files went public. Still, I couldn't ignore the threat. At midnight, I arrived at the Blue Lagoon Hotel. The neon sign flickered above me as I entered the dimly lit lobby. A man in a dark suit approached, his face expressionless. "Follow me," he said. He led me to the top floor, into a lavish suite where 3 figures sat around a table. The leader was a tall, bald man with piercing eyes. "Mrs. Okuro," he said smoothly, "or should I say, the widow who brought down our associate." I kept my voice calm. "Who are you?" "We are the syndicate," he said, leaning back in his chair. "Kenneth was useful to us, but you've caused us losses. That makes you a problem." "I don't have what you want," I said firmly. "The ledger is gone." The man chuckled. "We know, but you had the courage to destroy it, and we respect that. Which is why we're offering you a choice. Work for us, or die like the others who refused." My stomach turned. "Work for you? Are you insane?" His smile vanished. "You have 48 hours to decide. After that, you'll be nothing more than a memory." I left the hotel with my heart pounding. The syndicate wasn't just threatening me. They were recruiting me. They saw my strength as an asset. When I got back to my apartment, I found the door ajar. Inside, everything was overturned. On my bed, written in red paint, were the words, "Time is running out." The next day, I called Lola through the secure line she had given me before disappearing. "They found me," I said. "The syndicate." Her voice was tense. "Don't trust them, Amara. They'll use you until you're dead. You need to take them down, but you can't do it alone." "Ow!" I asked desperately. "I know someone," she said. "An ex-agent who's been hunting them for years. Meet him tomorrow at the Old Port warehouse. But be careful. If they find out, it's over." The next night, I drove to the Old Port. The man waiting there was tall, muscular, with a scar across his cheek. "Name's Jadena," he said. "Lola told me you have guts." "Good. You'll need them." "What do you know about the syndicate?" I asked. "They control everything," he said grimly. "Drugs, weapons, politics. Kenneth was just a middleman. Killing him created a power vacuum, and now they want to see if you can be their pawn, or if they need to remove you." "I'm not working for them," I said. "I'm ending this." He smirked. "Then we do it my way. We take them out one by one, until there's nothing left of their empire." Before I could respond, a shot rang out. The bullet narrowly missed my head, embedding itself in the wall. "They found us," Jadena shouted, pulling out his gun. Black SUVs screeched into the port, and armed men poured out. Bullets rained down as we dove behind crates. I returned fire, my hands shaking but steady enough to take one of them down. "Stay low," Jadena yelled, firing back. "We need to get to the car." We crawled across the floor, dodging bullets, until we reached his vehicle. He started the engine and sped off as more bullets shattered the windows. We barely escaped with our lives. My chest heaved as I clutched the dashboard. They won't stop. Jadena glanced at me. "Then we take the fight to them." I looked at the burning port in the distance, my fear slowly turning into something stronger, rage. "Then we go to war." The city was quiet that night, too quiet. But my heart wasn't. It beat hard, fueled by anger and determination. After surviving Kenneth, after surviving every attempt to silence me, I wasn't about to back down. Jadena's plan was risky, almost suicidal. "We infiltrate their meeting," he said, laying out blueprints of a private compound on the outskirts of Lagos. "Tomorrow, the syndicate gathers to choose a new leader. You're going to make them believe it's you." I stared at him, shocked. "You want me to pretend to work for them?" "Yes," he said firmly. "Gain their trust, play along, and when they let you close, we strike." I hesitated. "And if they see through it?" He met my eyes with a grim expression. "Then you won't walk out alive." The next evening, dressed in a black power suit with my hair slicked back, I walked into the syndicate's fortress. My heels clicked against the marble floor as armed guards frisked me. They took my phone but missed the tiny tracker Jadena had hidden in my shoe. The bald leader from the Blue Lagoon Hotel was waiting. "Ah, the widow returns," he said with a sly grin. "Have you decided?" "Yes," I said, my voice cold. You kill my husband, try to kill me, and now you want to use me. Fine. I'll work with you. But only if I'm in charge. The room fell silent. The syndicate members exchanged shocked glances. The leader laughed. You have guts, Mrs. Okoro. We like that. For hours, they tested me. Questions, threats, offers of money and power. I kept my voice steady, playing the role of a woman who had embraced the darkness Kenneth left behind. Finally, the leader stood. Very well. You'll join us. Prove yourself tomorrow, and you'll have your place. As they escorted me to the car they provided, I subtly tapped my shoe against the doorframe, activating Jidenna's tracker. Back at the safe house, I met with Jidenna to prepare. They're buying it, I said. Good, he replied. Tomorrow we take them down. The police task force is ready to strike when I give the signal. But Amara, I looked at him. Someone inside the task force is leaking information, he said. We have a traitor. Be careful who you trust. The next day, I returned to the compound for the syndicate's gathering. The room was filled with powerful figures, politicians, businessmen, criminals. The bald leader introduced me. Meet Amara, our new partner. They watched me like hawks as I presented my fake plan to expand their operations. They were buying it, until a familiar voice cut through the room. Well, look who's alive. My blood ran cold. I turned, and there he was, Kenneth's right-hand man, the one I thought I had killed during the shipping yard battle. His face was scarred, his eyes burning with hatred. She's a traitor, he roared. She killed Kenneth. She's working against us. The room erupted in chaos. Guns were drawn. The leader raised his hand to silence everyone. Is this true, Amara? My heart pounded. I had seconds to save myself. No, I said, my voice steady. I killed Kenneth because he was weak. He got sloppy, and he brought the authorities to our door. I did what was necessary to protect this organization. The leader studied me for a long moment. Then he smiled. She's right. Kenneth was weak, and weakness gets you killed. He shot Kenneth's former bodyguard in the head, just like that. The room fell silent. The meeting continued, but I could feel their suspicion lingering. As they toasted to my loyalty, I slipped away to the server room where Jidenna had instructed me to plant a device. I knelt by the server, sliding the device into place, when a voice behind me said, I knew you were lying. I spun around. One of the syndicate guards stood there, gun aimed at me. Before he could fire, a silent shot rang out. He collapsed. Jidenna stepped from the shadows. You're welcome. How did you get in? I whispered. He smirked. I have my ways. Now move. The police are waiting for the signal. We ran back to the main hall. But when we entered, the syndicate leader was waiting with his men, guns drawn. You think we didn't know? He said, his voice calm. We knew from the start you were working against us. My heart dropped. Then why play along? His smile was chilling. Because we wanted to see who else was with you. Now we know. Before I could react, his men opened fire. Jidenna pushed me to the floor, returning fire. Bullets ripped through the room as the police stormed in from every entrance, their sirens wailing outside. The battle was brutal. Gunfire, screams, bodies hitting the floor. I crawled to cover, grabbing a fallen rifle and firing back. One by one, the syndicate members fell. The leader tried to escape through the back, but I chased him down. Cornered, he raised his hands. You'll never stop us. We're everywhere. I aimed my gun at him. Not anymore. The shot echoed, and the leader collapsed. When the smoke cleared, the police had taken control. The surviving members were arrested, and the compound was secured. But as we walked out, Jidenna's phone buzzed. He read the message, and his face darkened. What is it? I asked. He handed me the phone. The message read, You took one syndicate down, but another is rising. And this time, they're coming for you. Stay tuned for the next chapter, because the final battles are just beginning. Like, comment, and subscribe. The storm is far from over. The victory at the compound should have felt like the end. The newspapers called me the widow who brought down a criminal empire. Social media hailed me as a hero. But deep inside, I knew it wasn't over. The message on Jidenna's phone haunted me. Another syndicate is rising. 3 days later, I was proven right. The first sign came in the form of bombing. A warehouse tied to the authorities' investigation exploded, killing 2 officers and destroying critical evidence. The police claimed it was an accident, but I knew better. This was the syndicate's warning. Saad visited me at my safe house. Her hands trembled as she poured tea. Amara, you have to disappear. You've done enough. Let the authorities handle this. I shook my head. The authorities can't handle this. They're compromised. The syndicate has people everywhere. She hesitated, then leaned closer. There's something you don't know. Someone in your circle is feeding them information. My stomach tightened. What do you mean? I overheard a phone call, she whispered. Someone close to you is leaking your location. They know your every move. The walls felt like they were closing in. Who? Saad looked down, her voice trembling. I think it's Jidenna. The revelation hit me like a punch. Jidenna, the man who saved my life, the man who had been fighting by my side, was a traitor? That night, I confronted him. We met in an abandoned parking lot, the air thick with tension. You've been feeding them information, I said, my voice cold. He didn't flinch. Where did you hear that? Answer me. I snapped, pointing my gun at him. He raised his hand slowly. Amara, it's not what you think. Yes, I gave them bits of information, but only to keep them from killing you. They wanted me to deliver you to them, but I refused. I've been playing both sides to protect you. My hands trembled on the trigger. How can I trust you? You can't, he admitted. But you need me. Without me, you're dead. Before I could respond, headlights flared across the lot. Black SUVs rolled in from every direction. They found us. Jidenna shouted, pulling out his gun. The night exploded with gunfire. Bullets tore through the air as we dove for cover. I returned fire, taking down one of their men. Jidenna fought like a man possessed, protecting me from every angle. Through the chaos, I saw a figure step out of the SUV, a woman tall and striking, dressed in all black. Her voice sliced through the gunfire. Amara, drop your weapon and come with me, or you both die here. I aimed at her. Who are you? She smiled coldly. I'm the new queen, Kenneth's replacement, and I've been waiting to meet you. Jidenna grabbed my arm. We need to get out of here. We ran, weaving through bullets, until we reached a back exit. The woman didn't pursue. She just watched us with a smile, like a predator toying with her prey. We escaped into the night, our bodies bruised, our hearts pounding. Later, at a new hideout, I confronted Jidenna again. Who is she? She calls herself Celine, he said grimly. She was Kenneth's secret partner, the one who stayed in the shadows. Now she's taken over the syndicate, and she's 10 times more dangerous than he ever was. I sat down, my hands shaking. What does she want with me? He looked at me with grim eyes. She wants to make an example of you, to show the world what happens when someone challenges the syndicate. The next day, I received a package with no return address. Inside was a single photo, Saad tied to a chair, bruised and terrified. A note was attached. You have 24 hours. Come to the Grand Tower rooftop with Jidenna. Bring yourself. Leave the guns. Or she dies. My chest tightened. I felt my world crumbling. She has Saad. Jidenna's jaw clenched. It's a trap. I don't care, I said, tears in my eyes. I'm not letting her die. At midnight, we arrived at the Grand Tower rooftop. The city lights sparkled below, but the air was thick with dread. Celine stood at the edge, Saad kneeling beside her, a gun pressed to her head. You came, Celine said with a smirk. How touching. Let her go, I demanded. Celine tilted her head. You think you're in a position to make demands? You ruined our empire, killed Kenneth, and now you're going to pay. I clenched my fists. You want me? Take me. But let her go. Celine laughed. How noble. But this isn't about you anymore. This is about showing everyone that no one crosses the syndicate and lives. She raised her gun to shoot Saad. I screamed and charged forward just as the rooftop erupted into chaos. Gunfire, explosions, the roar of helicopters. Jidenna tackled one of Celine's men as I dove for Saad, knocking Celine off balance. Celine fired wildly, grazing my shoulder. Pain ripped through me, but I kept fighting. I punched her, grabbed her gun, and pointed it at her. You're finished, I spat. Celine smirked, blood on her lip. You don't have the guts. I pulled the trigger. The shot echoed across the city as Celine's body crumpled to the ground. The rooftop was silent except for the whirring helicopter blades. Jidenna freed Saad, pulling her to safety. It's over, he said, panting. But as I stood there, bleeding and shaking, I couldn't shake the feeling that it wasn't truly over. Celine had been powerful, but her dying words haunted me. You think you've won? You've only started a war you can't finish. You think Celine's death was the end? Wait until you see the final twist, because the last chapter will reveal a betrayal I never saw coming and the revenge that will shake everything. Stay tuned for the next chapter, the grand finale. Like, comment, and subscribe because the ending will leave you breathless. The city was quiet after Celine's death, but the silence was deceptive. I could feel it. The syndicate wasn't completely gone. Celine's last words echoed in my mind. You've only started a war you can't finish. For a brief moment, life seemed almost normal. Saad was recovering, grateful to be alive, and Jadena stayed close, watching my every move like a shadow. I thought maybe, just maybe, the storm had passed. Then the betrayal came. It was 3 days later. I returned to our hideout to find the door slightly open. My heart sank as I stepped inside cautiously, gun in hand. The room was empty, too empty. Papers were scattered across the floor, the laptop smashed. Jadena. I called out. No answer. Then my phone buzzed. A video message appeared. My blood froze. In the video, Jadena was standing with several men I didn't recognize, his expression cold. Behind him was the syndicate's flag. Amara, he said, his voice calm and chilling. You were never supposed to survive this long. I played along, helped you take down Kenneth and Celine, but you were always just a pawn to draw out the enemies of the syndicate. Now they're gone, and I take control. You've served your purpose. I felt my knees weaken. Jadena was the traitor all along. The video ended with his words. Your time is up. Goodbye, Amara. My phone rang immediately after. Sada's voice screamed through the line. Amara, they found me. The call cut off. No. I whispered, my hands trembling. I grabbed my bag, loaded my gun, and stormed out. The coordinates in the video led me to the abandoned oil refinery on the edge of the city. The place reeked of danger, but I didn't care. I kicked open the door, gun raised. Amara, Jadena's voice called from the shadows. You never learn. He stepped out, wearing a black tactical vest, his eyes cold and sharp. Behind him, Saad was tied to a chair, a bomb strapped to it, the timer ticking down. You used me, I said, my voice shaking with rage. He smirked. You were useful. You wiped out my rivals. Now you're a loose end. I aimed my gun at him. Let her go, Jadena. He laughed. Shoot me, and she dies. Drop the gun. My mind raced. The timer ticked louder, every second a countdown to death. Slowly, I lowered my gun, then kicked it to the side, distracting him long enough to grab a metal rod and swing at his face. The impact stunned him. I lunged for the bomb, ripping at the wires as Jadena recovered and tackled me. We fought viciously, trading blows, blood and sweat mixing under the dim light. You can't win, Amara, he shouted, pinning me down. With every ounce of strength, I grabbed a shard of glass and stabbed his shoulder. He screamed, loosening his grip. I kicked him off and reached for my gun. End it, he yelled, laughing maniacally. You're not strong enough to kill me. I aimed at his chest, my hand steady now. I've killed worse men than you. The shot rang out. Jadena fell, blood pooling beneath him. I turned to the bomb, the timer at 5 seconds. My hands flew over the wires, red, blue, green. I yanked the red one. The timer stopped at 1. I collapsed, gasping for air, tears streaming down my face. Saad cried, Amara, you saved me. I untied her, holding her close. It's over. It's finally over. The authorities arrived shortly after. They recovered Jadena's body and dismantled the remaining syndicate network using the evidence I had hidden. The war was over, this time for real. Months later, I stood on the balcony of my new home, the ocean breeze on my face. I had rebuilt my life from the ashes. Saad had healed, and together we started a foundation for women who survived abuse and betrayal. I thought about Kenneth, Celine, Jadena, all the people who tried to break me. They were gone, but their memory would always be a reminder of how far I had come. As I watched the sunset, my phone buzzed with a final anonymous message. The syndicate is dead. Long live the survivor. I smiled faintly, whispering to myself, yes, I survived, and I'm stronger than ever. Thank you for watching this journey of betrayal, revenge, and survival. If you believe no betrayal can break a strong heart, like, comment, and subscribe. This is Amara's victory, and her warning to anyone who dares to underestimate her. If you stayed till the end, leave a candle in the comments to light up truth over lies. Share this story, because sometimes faith is the most dangerous battlefield. Subscribe for more stories that challenge everything you think you know.